What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of 4 Dummies. And tonight I am joined with the other 3 dummies. I have Mr. Robert Detoff.
Oh.
Mr. Just One.
Yo, what's happening?
And Mr. Skullface.
Hello.
And tonight we are going to have a conversation about vehicles that have their own sort of personality. And as it relates to Transformers, I guess specifically alt modes and how they have their own personality and so on and so forth. Some of those are going to be easier to kind of identify than others, but we're going to get into the conversation. With that being said, if you want the uncut version of this, please feel free to check out the Patreon at the $5 level where you get this and Sit Down Saturday and a whole lot more. Should we start? I guess we start with Transformers.
Yeah, I think we can. I mean...
So I think that Optimus Prime is like the standout vehicle that always sort of has its own personality.
Yep, and Bumblebee.
Yeah, and it is weird that like when you see those, you do... like, because there is like when in the cartoon specifically, when like some of the vehicles, like when they're talking in vehicle mode, I find it to be like off-putting at times. But
right.
but when Prime does it, I buy it. It seems like the natural thing for him to sort of do.
But like other than those two, if you weren't a fan of the, because like we could say, oh, this vehicle and this vehicle, but if you were just a casual watcher, like what else would there be just besides?
So when
Prime?
you talk,
I mean, I guess Megatron, but it's not really like a vehicle.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think it needs to be expanded to alt mode. So like, the beasts all work, right? Like the Dinobots, the Dinobots and the Predacons and all that kind of stuff. But like I would also say like I don't know why, but for some reason, Starscream, like all of the Seekers and Soundwave.
Yes, Soundwave, right.
To me, have a personality in their alt mode. I can't tell you what.
They did a good job with Soundwave. Like just Soundwave, you could tell like just was menacing, but even that dumb little tape recorder was still something menacing about it. You're like, you knew that. I would notice if that thing was just sitting in my room. Like, where did this purple box come from?
I agree.
It's just funny how Megatron, when he turns into a gun, he's just like an inanimate object. Not because guns don't move, but he doesn't talk, does he? Ever?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I was. Did they ever show him talk when he's in the gun?
Why can't guns talk too?
But it's
like, fire me.
Come on, Trigger. Stick your finger in me and curl it.
Oh, God.
But it is like there's a lot of inconsistencies with his alt mode because like sometimes he'll like just float in air and shoot by himself, and then other times he like clearly needs to be held by somebody. And then there's like the whole tripod thing that the toy had that you don't ever really see in the cartoon. Maybe once, I don't know.
Well, was Bruticus the only character to shoot Shockwave? Because Shockwave shot on his own, right?
Yeah, Shockwave shot on his own, but Bruticus used him as like a handgun.
Like against his will.
Shockwave was like a laser gun.
Dude, that's just Transformers assault.
He used it against his will and then stuck him into his own gun barrel and shot it in his face. Dude. I would argue then like Astro Train. Mm-hmm. It was the transport. It never, that was a big deal. His alt mode was more useful than his bot mode.
That may have been part of it, is like the usefulness of the alt mode. Now that we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, because why does Soundwave's like square feel like a character? Well, because it interacted with a whole bunch of stuff and was responsible for a lot of the storytelling.
Yeah, and I think right, because it was used and you'd see it, and then some of the vehicles just had personality. Like Bumblebee, because it was kind of like a cartoon version of what a VW Bug looked like, so it had like these distorted proportions, made it a little bit more unique than like some of the other stuff on there.
Yeah, and the fact that it carried around Spike a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, true, right. I guess because it interacted with the human. But
I would think that the Insecticons alt modes are more important to the show than their bot modes.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's why the Dinobots too is like, I think most people wanted to see them in their alt modes versus them in the robot mode.
As a side note, speaking about like the functionality and how that incorporates, like to me, the Wheeljack in the first episode in Cybertron, like that has more character to it and more personality to it than like the Ferrari back on Earth.
Right, I remember too going like, I want to see more of this stuff. Even the Tetrajet,
and even like Ironhide and Ratchet, because they like carried around Ratchet carried around injured Transformers, and Ironhide like opened up the back and they had that little gun. It created the little dam, like the ditch or whatever for the water.
Oh, right.
All that stuff I think plays a part in characterizing a vehicle.
I can think of an interesting like letdown is in Transformers the movie. They're like, we have to transform Autobot City, right? And we all Metroplex I was like, Metroplex. And they're like, no, this is just, we transform this ourselves and it's stupid.
Well,
what were they even transforming it to?
Like battle mode.
The battle station.
Yeah.
Just like we got
dumb. It was dumb that like they had to do it. Like, we're so we can transform ourselves, but we can't make anything this big that needs to be done. Like
that's almost
on its own.
That's almost like for a transformer to transform, you'd have to like turn a crank on his hip.
No,
yeah.
I do think that like I think we did crack the code of it though. I do really think it comes down to functionality because like the more I'm thinking about it, like I feel like Jazz kind of has character.
That's what I was going to say earlier, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot.
I think Jazz kind of has character to his alt mode, but his alt mode had those speakers on it and everything else that did. Whereas like Sideswipe, I don't think there's any character to Sideswipe's alt mode at all.
Yeah, but look at Perceptor. Nobody gives a about that dude. Maybe because he was a nerd and turned into a microscope.
Actually, I think that his alt mode does. I think it does have a character to it.
But like, what alt mode stood out more so than the character, the robot? The Dinobots, Insecticons.
Yeah, the beasts.
Yeah, it is all the beasts. Because nobody's car was that cool.
Like Perceptor spent lots of times as a gigantic microscope. Talking, moving his dildo around.
That they use him to like look at things?
Yeah, like he was like, like if they needed to examine something, or if somebody got injured, he would like look at the...
He's all, put your eye in me.
Yeah. Why doesn't it make sense?
Imagine that. He's like, dude, what part of you is this? Look into my scope.
Really doesn't make any sense why he would need to turn into a microscope. Like, he's like the super powerful scientist. Do you think his eyes would just do the job somehow?
Yeah, like the guy that made him was like, but here's the twist. He has to actually transform into this other thing to be able to see well.
Dude, he's completely blind when he's a robot. He's like, dude, but look at this. Well, let's branch out a little bit just to 80s like properties and stuff.
Okay.
So like I said, I already named Kit.
Yeah, Kit's like the obvious one because Kit was a character, right?
Right.
Like, so it talked and everything else.
Right.
To me, the Millennium Falcon always felt like its own character.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even prior to it, kind of them retrofitting a character into it.
Almost like it had its own like mojo and good luck, and like they're lucky to have it on your side.
Yeah. And
you're about to do something impossible.
And it did feel like an extension of Solo. Like it felt like it was like, it didn't quite fit into mainstream society.
It was like his steed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
About the DeLorean.
Yeah, 100%.
DeLorean for sure.
The DeLorean.
Yep.
What'd you say?
What about the mask vehicles?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that myself. I would say maybe the red car. No, they didn't talk. But like the Matt Tracker's car, I forget. I don't know the names of the vehicles. I only know a few. And the green motorcycle, Condor. Yeah. That one might have been Condor, but that always felt like it had a little bit of like. I mean, I think another like super obvious one is the Batmobile. The Batmobile seems like its own,
especially
thing.
Like the 89. I guess the 66 one too, but like the 89 one, I think is what made launched it to where like the Batmobile had to be a thing.
Yeah,
like it was it wouldn't be complete of an episode without seeing this thing, like the 18 van. If you didn't see all those dudes rolling around that van, you'd be like, oh, I missed something. This episode wasn't there.
Right. No, I see what you're saying too. And like the
what
Tumblr.
About Scooby-Doo's van?
Yeah.
Mystery Machine.
The Mystery Machine's dope. The Ghostbusters, the Ecto-1 is dope.
The Ecto-1 for sure.
Yeah. But just to launch out, what is the equivalent now? Like I don't think, is there any show now that's new that has some type of vehicle like that?
I don't know. What even exists today?
Show-wise?
I'm just trying, I guess it's still saying like just new versions of the Batmobile, really, because like every time a Batmobile comes out, the Batman movie comes out, the Batmobile is the thing. So like the Tumbler, the newest, that Tumbler from
right. But I mean that when you said that wasn't a rebrand or like,
right? No,
because I was thinking when you said that initially, I was like, well, there's probably another rendition of the Turtle Van out there now that probably feels right. What about John Wick's car?
Oh yeah, the Mustang.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that two vehicles from Star Wars, besides the one we've talked about, I think that have their own character are the AT-AT and the ATST.
Oh,
I never thought of them as being piloted, even though they were being piloted.
The AT-AT always felt like a dog to me.
Giant lumbering dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like a Great Dane of space.
Right, because it was dopey. It was almost clumsy like a dog would be, like in that regard. It's like, oh, you tripped over a log.
In terms of like the Transformers though, and I think that like the more useless the vehicle, the almost not only less of a character it becomes, but almost less of a give a like almost like I don't care. Like when I think back, I always struggle with the Technobots, like keeping track of.
Because they didn't turn into anything real.
They didn't turn into anything real, but not just that though. More so that I couldn't keep track of their names, and I don't think that their vehicles ever did anything specific to the vehicle that like made me latch on to it. So like I couldn't tell you the names of the characters, and then I couldn't even, if I could list off the names, I couldn't tell you what they turned into or what purpose that thing served.
Well, in that vein, I would say that the Stunticons have more character as alt modes.
So I do think the Stunticons do have character as alt modes, and so do the Constructicons.
They made an episode. Wasn't there an episode specifically like with whatever that one is where they enter that race? You know what I mean? Like,
well, they were crashed into
derby. Yeah,
you know, and like
they had like unique powers as
but that goes
vehicles.
Back to what Bobby was saying, it's about just utility. You know, it served a purpose.
If it did a thing as a vehicle that moved the story forward, then that vehicle ended up taking on a characterization of itself.
So do you think then think about the Bay movies, and you have Prime, so it's a different truck, but that truck now has also become its own kind of like character as well. But do you think that's earned, or it was just because it was Prime and then that like was just automatically attached? Like, is that an earned?
I'm gonna say it's automatically attached.
Yeah,
because I think that like the Megatron is like the spaceship or whatever actually has more characterization than the gun version of Megatron. Right. I don't find it as cool or anything, but
I don't want to admit it, but the Bumblebee from the Bayverse stuff.
That's true. That's true.
The Camaro.
Comic relief Camaro. Comic relief Camaro.
Right. I think like that's, especially if you see young kids that grew up around them, if they see a yellow Camaro, they say Bumblebee versus like they see a yellow Volkswagen Bug, they don't make that connection.
The Transformers 1, right? Like I love that, but most of those vehicles are just used to like get away or get somewhere fast. There's not like a true characterization of those vehicle modes, and those vehicle modes don't really stick with me.
I think because too, it wasn't really like a thing, like they haven't, because they didn't transform in the beginning and then did after the fact. Like you haven't learned to love them yet. Not you, but I'm just saying in general. Like it didn't earn anything. Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think they were meant to be anything just yet because they weren't. Again, goes back because they weren't used. They weren't used for really anything.
Yeah.
Other than to progress the story forward, but not. I mean, I know. I guess that's what you're saying about the other stuff. But
but it wasn't in the same way, right? It didn't matter,
right?
Who has the most useless alt mode? The most characterless alt mode?
Oh, do any of the cassettes? I mean, I know they're useless. They're not recording anything.
Yeah, except for Laserbeak, right? Because Laserbeak,
because yes, you saw the tape in Soundwave,
but plus Laserbeak would spy on you, record it, and then transform it into a tape
to play it
back.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas the other ones just sort of transferred as tape just for storage purposes.
Right.
Skylinks is one of those ones I could have done more with, in its alt mode. Like he basically became like a Astro Chain type thing where it just traveled around. But like I don't feel like they did enough with like the Lynx element of that character. Like it was pretty much just the bird.
What about the X-Men's like ship?
Oh, the Blackbird?
Yeah.
I think it's in the comics.
I would say more, for me, it would be like for that because I know it was like a big G.I. Joe thing, that Blackbird also,
Oh, G.I. Joe? Now that you say that, I'm thinking, is there anything there?
The little bubble.
Trouble
things.
Bubble, dude. You talking about the Trouble
bubbles that they would ride in. The Hiss Tank would probably be
the Hiss Tank.
What about the Death Star? Did you?
Oh yeah, that has one.
Yeah,
that has.
You forget that it is like it does move. You don't really think of it as like a vehicle, but
yeah. Because like I remember when in Rogue One when it like popped up or like it was like peeking over the horizon of the planet. It was like, oh shit.
Right.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
I love that perspective.
Yeah, it was great.
It's so much more menacing than seeing it in space.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. I want to see a space menace. I want to see the 89 Batwing, since we never talked about that. That thing was dope also.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
I want to see the Barbie Ferrari. Balance it out.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to see Nipples Batman.
I want to see the turtle van.
Yeah.
See?